In today's video, I'm putting in a brand new backsplash with nothing but a pair of tile snippers. That's right. This video is dedicated to everybody out there who doesn't have a ton of tools or a ton of experience. This is a simple DIY project. Cheers. So two things. One, I went to Home Depot yesterday and I bought all the stuff. So it's available. Just go to the store. Number two, doing a tile backsplash is a DIY project, and I've seen a lot of videos online lately where people are making major mistakes. They don't even know it yet. First thing we want to do before we get started, I've got a couple of marks on my wall from when I installed my cabinets in the previous video. This is all part of the series of this church kitchen remodel. I'm going to just oil that all up real good. Make sure that those stains don't come through. This is video number 6 of our kitchen remodel. We repurposed the cabinets, did a tile countertop, hung cabinets. We painted the old cabinets, moved some electrical around. And now I'm going to show you this, how to install your backsplash. Just a few easy steps. Anybody can do this, all right? If you have a knife and you go to the store and you buy a pair of tile nippers, they're called, okay? Snips and some sort of scissors. These are crazy huge, but they'll do the job. I'm working on 3 different jobs at the same time right now, so I can never find my tools. I just use what's available. Here you go. This is what a tile sheet looks like nowadays, okay? You got to pick your tile, and you'll get something like this, and there's a mesh backing. It's adhesive, all right? And basically, you can stick tile like this on the wall. And the reason I love this kind of project is because when you get to your plugs, right? You can basically line this up. You can measure your gap, cut the backing. Okay, check this out. Now you've cut around your plug. Okay, when you set that in the adhesive, you're good to go. The reason this works is because you can buy this. It's from Eaton. I got this at Home Depot. It's a cover plate for your electrical. It's a 2-part snap-on plate. These screws go into the fixture that's screwed in here, all right, and sit on over top of the hole, and this one snaps over top of it. So no matter if you're ½ an inch off one way or the other, okay, even if you have a huge gap on one side, this plate is so huge that it still covers. What I'm using today for my backsplash, penny tile, both of these work. This is a ceramic. So all you need to cut is this. You no wet saw, no scorch, no grinder, nothing. All right, a $17 pair of snips. That's all you need. And you can have the same effect and just use the knife to cut out the penny tiles. Use these if you need to cut out in half because it's ceramic. They're easy to work with. I'll show you that in the video. And you can cut around any obstacle that you have. All right, no need to go invest major money in tools. By the way, in the market right now, if you want to hire someone to do a backsplash this big, okay, I would charge someone $600 to $800 to show up and do that job right now. That's the market. So this is $15 a square foot for this expensive glass stuff. These are less than half price. Gotta love ceramic. So for $6 a square foot, 14 square feet, $100, 17 bucks. Get some adhesive. I like the Omni Grip at the Home Depot. It is the most expensive premium brand, but it's worth it because it dries like within an hour. So you can install your tile and grout in the same day. And one of these $3 throwaway trowels, all right? It's just a 3/16 V-notch. Or if you have tools, Fluter-Curdy membrane trowel, it's a square notch. It works great for this scenario, okay? That's it. It's like a $100 tile job. Anybody can do this. So one of the first things you need to know about working with penny tile is how you're going to finish on your edge, right? So I've picked this up. It says a piece of plastic. I'm going to be running it off the edge of the counter. Okay, that's a nice spot. And then coming across into the cabinet right at the underside. Because I'm going to have a straight line, if I install the tile with the penny tile is offset. So you have a nice straight line here, and then you have offset tile here, okay? It's easier to cut these tiles and put them across the bottom and the top because both of those surfaces get a bead of silicone when you're finished. So you can finish it with white silicone. Leave this beautiful row for the right side and the left side to help get a better finish, all right? Now, like I said, these are only $6 a square foot. I bought the whole case. I won't need it all, but because Home Depot sells these by the sheet, you can just take the rest back and get your money when you're finished. Okay, there we go. Throw all our garbage on the floor. So here's my sheet. This is how we're gonna start. Let's talk about the layout first, okay? Boom. All right, now, I got two options. I can start with the full circle and then come back later and cut little bitty pieces and stick them all in. That's gonna be tricky because when we put the OmniGrip on, it dries so fast, okay? You don't wanna do that. You wanna cut this first and then install it, okay? So, here's the tile snips, and if you've never seen this before, prepare to have your mind blown. It's this easy. You line it up halfway across the tile, okay? And done. Truth is, a tool like this has been around in the tile world for hundreds of years, long before they had other options, and they only worked with ceramic. Okay? Like this is how tile sets made their living for years and years and years. All those subways made out of people using these to cut circles and holes and rounds and round plugs, and that's it. That's the whole job. Now I've got the first sheet. Boom. I'm ready to install. I have got a little over 7 of these that I gotta do. Just to make this video less painful to watch, I'm going to do 7 sheets of that, and I'm going to line them all up and be ready to move, and then we'll install all this in a minute. Draw a laser line off the side of this cabinet, okay? That allows me to measure over to the edge of my trim. Now I know my return is 6.5 inches, okay? So I'm gonna just measure that piece onto here and make a mark. Okay, now I'm gonna cut it into a 45 on the back side. You only got 2 options with this trim. You cut 2 separate pieces, or you cut a mold 45 degrees on it, and you bend it over, and then it comes back. And that's how you get your 90, okay? And so then I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to hold that nice and level there. And that's where I'm going to cut my trim. That'd be amazing. So I'm going from the gap to just flush with the cabinet, all right? Enough said. Now we're ready to go. Let's get into the OmniGrip, the building store that I usually go to, the Home Depot. And again, I've said this before, it's just, Lowe's came to Canada late, guys. So, I mean, I spent most of my career shopping Home Depot. I know every SKU on the shelf. I know the people that work there, and I'm not gonna relearn all that information just for the sake of a different colored buggy to go shopping with. For the most part, they sell very much the same stuff. And if it has a different brand name on it, in a lot of cases, it's made in the same factory in China. So what the hell's the difference? I like the OmniGrip. There are 3 versions of product on the shelf. Don't buy the cheap one, okay? This is 60 bucks, the cheap one's 30. The cheap one is cheap. Everything slides, it doesn't hold anything. It takes forever to dry. It drives you nuts. It's not the place to save money. Where you save money is by doing it yourself. Buy good products. Do it yourself, get a great result. That's it, okay? Now, we know my tile is going to look like this, something like this, right? We're going to start trying to get the adhesive relatively where I want it to go. I don't want to go wider than I need to. Okay, I can clean it off and everything, no problem. See, like it's just, and a sponge, but if you don't make a mess, you don't have to clean it up, right? Here we go. Now, this is small tile. The secret here is not having too much adhesive on the wall. All right? This isn't about buttering toast, okay? Or adding jam to your bread. This is about getting the product moved around so that it's even and consistent, all right? So get it all over the place. And once you have a good healthy coat everywhere, then we're gonna come back one more time and trowel it all out so it's consistent. And we're gonna work with a small space at a time because it works that fast, okay? And we're gonna work from the bottom to the top. Okay? And we're gonna clean as we go. And if I don't get a consistent trowel line, I'll throw more product on the wall and go back again. There we go. This is nice. I have more there than I need. Okay? Because we are putting this behind the tile, establish this right out of the gate. All right? Doesn't have to be perfect, but it sure has to be close. And you'll see the only problem I have here is that with penny tile, the tiles are so small I could have an entire tile on that one section with no adhesive. So I do have to come back here, add a little bit more. Now you are not going to have a perfectly smooth wall when you're doing this. The only option to have a smooth wall is not to use the edging, and that means you're going to rely on grout or silicone or something else to cover the edge of your cut tile. I prefer this any day of the week, okay? Here we go. Now it's a water-based adhesive. Don't worry about your counters if you get it on there, okay? You can always take that off with a wet rag later. The way you install a tile is you hold the sheet, put it over your arm, okay? Gently, I'm going to say that again. Gently press it in place. Slowly roll it up. You don't want to push it into the wall until you've got your line. Okay, you see that? My line's just a little bit off. There we go. You're going to have one of these anyway because you're going to want to grout when you're done. Gently press a large area at a time to set the tile into the adhesive. We're going to measure from the top of the bubble to the top of the cabinet. I got 5 1/4 inches of space. Okay? For this situation, we're going to take a new sheet, hanging the same way. Okay? And we're going to measure from this space right here, because it represents the next tile above that bubble. Okay? 5 1/4, right? 5 1/4 gives me here. This row, the last tile in that row fits in that space. So I'm going to line this up, and I'm going to cut according to that tile all the way across the sheet. And I'm not going to cut it longer and then cut the tiles back. I'm going to cut it shorter and then add the half tiles that I've already cut off. And the reason this works is because these are penny tiles. They're actually 1/2 inch. So because we put our cabinets in at 18 inches, which is the standard in the industry, we have 18 pieces of tile. The fact that they're offset on the grid means we're going to have a half at the bottom of each row. That's all. That's all that means. Okay? If I'm right about this, I should be able to just stick this sheet on right now. And I'm a little bit tall here. You see that? Let's not panic, because sometimes life is this easy. If I can just add myself an extra millimeter in height by lifting that up, now I'm pressed in. Again, grout float to set. And this is where everybody makes the biggest mistake. They put too much of the adhesive and or too much pressure, and then the adhesive gets squished in between the tiles to the point where it's too much of a mess. And you spend hours and hours cleaning the adhesive out. If you are easy on the adhesive, you don't have anything to fill up. You just wipe down the surface when you're done and go. Now, that's done. Take a few of these right away, and let's start press down, slide it up, and fill the gap. Okay? As low as you can go. Gently lift up, and then push it tight. All right, and this is how we're going to finish that. Underneath as well. And if you always make sure that you buy tile that fits the space, you'll never have weird gaps with a 1/2 inch of grout underneath your cabinet, forcing you to buy valance and add all kinds of trim carpentry so people can't see the nasty mess you make from the living room. Okay, there we go. That's the whole process. Now we're going to go one row at a time, refreshing our cement as we need to. This box here is actually an electrical box, and we're going to cut our tile up to the edging using the scissors. The only other secret we need here is I need a pail and a sponge. All right, now big surprise. Yep, I got adhesive on my grout float because it was on the counter. And so when I pressed my tiles, I got adhesive all over my tiles. Made a hell of a mess here. Okay, I'm gonna try to clean that adhesive off the base there while I'm looking at it. All right, there we go. Now that is clean. This is a great time, take your knife. If you have any extra adhesive that bothers you, clean it up. You can also use a pencil. It's another great way to go. I'm pretty happy with that. Remember, because we're using a water-based adhesive, when we grout this, if we have any adhesive that's being proud and sticking out and going, hey, look at me, I'm over here, and looks ugly, it'll also soften up again from the moisture of the grout when we apply it, and you'll be able to take a small tool and remove it and fix it on the spot, okay? So you can either use a white grout so that if there are any pieces of adhesive sticking out, it blends in. I'm gonna use a different color grout because I think it's a great way to show people how clean and easy this is. All right, we're gonna grout in just a few minutes. Let me just go through a time lapse. I'll whip the rest of this on. I think maybe we'll show around the plug because this is something that people see all the time. And it's intimidating to have to work around an electrical plug. We're gonna get rid of that fear right now. So here's my first sheet, right? I've got the bottom cut already. Good, and it's in line with this row. That's missing a tile, how about that? I'm gonna measure over 10 1/4 to 12 1/4. Okay, so 10 1/4 to 12 1/4, that's my hole. 10 1/4 is there, and I'm gonna make it wider, I'm gonna go to 10. Okay, so I'm gonna cut these last couple pieces out. All right, this is how easy this is, folks. When you're prepping up for your backsplash, make sure you grab some 45-minute compound, mesh tape if you need to. Make a nice firm surface around your plug. Don't rely on adhesive to solve your problems when you get there, okay? Now, I need a little bit more adhesive on the wall. When you're working with a small tile like this, you don't get to cheat. You don't get to add the adhesive to the back of the stone. It's always about the surface, okay? Make the surface perfect, so then your tile will go on perfect. You don't ever want to be building up the back of your stone. You don't ever want to be in a spot where you forgot something and you come back and get it later and you have to add adhesive. It'll never sit right. It'll drive you nuts trying to clean out old adhesive or adding enough to make it stick, or you're always gonna have a raised surface. Be happy with everything you do as you go. So I want to take this penny tile right here and quickly add it to this lost lonely soul down there. Bam. Okay, now, here we go. Again, we're gonna start by carrying the weight so that I'm gently setting it in place and watching my line. Okay. You don't want to have it all too close. Remember, there's a nice factory gap everywhere. If you set your too close or too far away, your grout is going to scream that that's where the joint is. And ultimately, that's your goal, is to have nothing screaming. Okay, beautiful, beautiful. Everybody agree? Now, for perfect, we can add our halves now around the electrical plug. All right. You don't have to do this. In most situations, your electrical cover plate is more than big enough to cover. And might I suggest, before you tile, make sure you get whatever you're going to use to finish. This one by Eaton is amazing, okay? Because the fixture, actually this gets screwed to the fixture, and you can confirm whether or not your tile is going to be covered. Like, I don't really even need to have those halves there, but it helps to hold the grout better, ultimately gives you a better finish and more options. All right, let's get a couple more of these. Okay. Done. Remember, the secret to tiny tile is having a perfectly level counter. If you don't, stay away from this stuff, okay? Because you can't start on a nice row and then having a gap open up where you got to start putting little pieces, and by the time you get to the other end of the counter, it's half a tile or a full tile. It's so nasty to look at. If you have unlevel counters, go with larger tile, at least 3 inches tall. And might I consider starting it with a mid tile. Start the bottom row with half a tile, okay? And that gives you the flexibility to grow or shrink as you need to. But if you have installed level counters, you're good. Small tiles are great and very, very flexible. And in this case, even affordable. All right, I'm just gonna clean up now and give this about an hour or so, and then we're gonna grout. All right, it's time to grout, guys, but I screwed up and I got Ultra Color Plus. Didn't plan ahead, so the hardware store near where I was, this is all they had in stock. Yeah, this is gonna happen to you. We made a video where I warned you not to use this if you're a new DIYer, especially on showers. Like a backsplash this size, I can probably handle this okay. I'm gonna mix it all in one batch. But if you're using it, remember it dries super quick. So maybe mix half a bag at a time, which is like, I prefer to mix the whole bag so you get consistent color. Or you can just work it until it starts to dry out on you and throw it in the garbage and get another bag later. Just so you know, there's a chart on these bags and it tells you the size of your tile, the thickness of the tile, how many square feet this is going to do with different size grout lines. So it takes 3 factors into place. It's not a perfect chart, but it gives you an idea. I'm expecting to get the 14 square feet that I need out of this. It's going to be close. We'll see. I'm going to have to go back to the store and get another bag just to finish off. But the goal is to do the backsplash and the counter with the same grout. And it is warm gray, in case anybody wants to know. These bags tear weird, okay? There's like weak spots in this, so be careful. Always add the water. The mixing ratio is also on the bag, okay? One of these 10-pound bags goes with 1 liter, or a quart, I think is what you guys use in the South. Funny how I call Americans in the South. Okay, here we go. We're gonna throw in this little, it kind of reminds me. Yep, whatever you do for a living is gonna kill you. Here we go. Yeah, I'm liking that. So everything is pretty much set up and I'm ready to put in grout. Got the rest of the doors on, but as you can see, this process of drilling out for the faucet is messy. So I want to get the last of the messy work done, vacuum up before I mix my grout. I've made this mistake so many times before. I've done grout work and then had to attach something to a wall to finish a project. Always leave your grout work so that when you're done grouting, you're done for the day, because you can't rush it and then you got to come back and put silicone seal on. So just think ahead. This stuff here, when you're coring into laminate for countertop, there's a resin, all right? So you want to get that off the teeth. It clumps up. And what it does is it gets rid of your cutting and it overheats. Here we are, done and done. There's my product. This is an unsanded grout, so it's phenomenal on glass as well. There we go. Okay. I've got a lot of fresh mud over here, so I'm trying to watch my application. I don't want to get it all over the bloody wall. I usually like to move a little faster than this with this stuff, but I also don't want to work dirty. When you use the grout float to set the penny tile, it's perfectly flush, so it actually makes this really easy to put on. Right, there's no leppage here. Oh, that's just amazing. And I'm gonna grout right up to the cabinet. And that is just because it gives me something to silicone against afterwards, right? Everywhere I have a change of material, I'm gonna add silicone. Due to expansion and contraction laws, the tile and the cabinets and the countertops and everything are gonna expand and contract at different rates. So you want to have a silicone seal that has the flexibility to keep that gap from opening up over time. Here we go. And for a nice clean finish, get rid of all the extra grout off your surface. There we are. Okay. This tile reminds me, I once had a client, had a rather large kitchen. It was one of those, like a 10 by 10 basically, right? Or a 10 by 12. And she asked me to put in penny tile like this, only it was stainless steel. And that was a lot of fun to work with. But the thing is, we used a silver grout. When it was all done, her kitchen looked like champagne bubbles. Like, it was really phenomenal. One of the coolest looks I've ever seen in my life. So you might think, oh, penny tile, it's so old and outdated. But in a lot of cases, everything you do nowadays is going to be old and outdated within a year. So sticking with something that's traditional like this gives you a lot of longevity on it, on your project. I mean, we're at a point now, you start to see this come together and you're like, wow, that worked, eh? This is a great little transformation. Makes a really useful space. I think if I was to total up the money that we put into this, what am I? $600 for cabinets. They came pre-built. A couple hundred for the sink, $100 for the faucet, $3, that's $9. $100 for cement and grout, makes $1,000. And then $200 for the countertop tile. $80 for the paint. $13. A couple of dollars in wood and screws. Some electrical. $1,400. Most people can't even get a countertop for $1,400 nowadays. And I built an entire kitchen for that same money. That's where the power of DIY is. If I was going to go out and quote to do something like this for somebody as a contractor, to remodel a kitchen like this, I'm still going to charge them $8,000. Yep, you want it done right, do it yourself, make some money. There you go. You got about 20 minutes from when you start to when you have to wash. And washing takes longer than the application. So usually the second half of the washing is where you run into trouble. So now I got everything grouted. Now I'm just working on my tile joints. And then we'll jump right into washing. Now, the washing process, guys, first is your tools. Okay? Grout floats aren't free. And if you wait for that to set up another 5 minutes, you'll never get it off. All right. So it's nice to remember to take care of the tools. All right. Boom. All right. That's me taking care of the tools. Okay, and now I'm going to wash in the same process as where I started it. All right. Wipe, flip, and wipe. That's all you got to do at this point. Okay. That's the only way that you're going to get this done as fast as you put it on. Also, make sure your breakers are off to your electrical when you're doing this. Water can drip down, hit those screws, and electrify the grout surface. And it won't kill you, but you'll enjoy that ride for a moment. You'll definitely know you're alive when that hits. I wouldn't recommend it if you have a heart condition. Here we go. I'm in good shape. It's not setting up too fast on me. Being in a basement-ish, it's kind of cool in here, so it helps. But consider your temperature of where you're working. If it's a hot summer day where you are and you're trying to use this grout, it's going to set up a lot faster. Cold water to mix it, cold water to sponge it, and then there we go. Now when I'm done, the next step is going to be to get a clean pail of water and come back and then wipe it all again to get the residue off. What I'm looking right now to do is just set up the grout depth on the tile. I'm not worried about the haze on the stone because that actually cleans off a lot better than you might think. Flip it and wipe it. There we are. Okay, one more suggestion when you're making your grout. If you're not comfortable with the speed and you have your low experience level, leave a handful of powder in the bag. I'm doing this fast enough that if I have any issues like this, where there's adhesive on the tile, I know I can stop and take time to clean this up. I know I'm gonna make a mess. I'm gonna grab some of the old stuff there, rub a little dirt in it, right? And I'm good to go. But if you are working inexperienced and you get into a situation where all your grout is mixed, you get down near the end of the job and it's starting to get hard, what you're gonna find is that you can't mix it, you can't use it. There'll be holes in your grout and you're gonna have to go buy another bag just so you can get rid of a pinhole. All right, so leave yourself a little bit of mercy in the bag. Okay, here we go. And if you got pinholes like this, be over generous. Okay, these tiles can be very difficult sometimes to get the right angle and get them filled, and they'll trap air. Gentle pressure, and you're good. All right, I'm gonna finish cleaning this up. I'm just gonna finish wiping down this countertop now. I'll change the water and give it all another clean wipe, and this will be done. Later on in the day, I'll have to buff it, just using some paper towels, and that'll be fine. That'll get the haze off. And that is everything you're gonna need to do countertops. Make sure you subscribed and click the bell for notifications. The next video is going to be the installation of the sink and the faucet, the drain, the water supply, all that good stuff to make this a functional kitchen. Cheers.